Witcher friends, welcome back to the Witcher Lorecast. This is the show that digs into all the nitty-gritty, wonderful, dirty, delicious details of the Witcher universe. I'm your host, Tom, or Robots, and I'm here, as usual, with the Lord of Toasters, Toasty the Magnificent of Toasteropolis. How's that?
Toasteropolis. That's a big city right there.
This is the largest
big city of toasters. Everyone has a toaster in Toasteropolis.
This is the largest of the toaster towns.
Yes. This, if you don't have a toaster, you get arrested. Hello.
This is the capital. How you doing, man?
Good. My leg hurts. My elbow hurts.
Oh no. You're getting old.
I did a dumb today. Do we have time for a little side story? It's not long.
Okay, yes. Well, tell us your dumb. You were out on the path, as all good Witchers are, and this happened.
And I was helping a lady with some pumpkin monsters, right? And it required me attaining the high ground, because the high ground is important. Must get the high ground,
especially against pumpkin monsters, because
their only weakness is their pumpkin heads, because they're pumpkin monsters. And then as I achieved victory, I descended from the high ground with an excited jump, and then landed on my bad leg, and my leg buckled and I fell.
Oh no.
It was so in non-Witcher terms, I was at work. I was getting some pumpkin bins for a lady who needed pumpkin bins. And then as I was doing that, I dropped the phone into one of the pumpkin bins, but I was like, I'm helping a customer right now. The phone's not important. And then I remembered as I was about to leave to go get it. And so I climbed back in there, and I had to climb across a bunch of pallets to get to it. Got it. And I jumped down, and I have a bad leg from a sporting accident. And I guess I landed too much on it. My leg buckled, and I fell in the truck on my side. Jeez, and it's like a metal floor. So I scraped up my elbow, and my knee hurts real bad.
Oh man, that sucks.
Bad. I thought I was going to be really messed up, but I only limped for a minute and a half. And that's usually a good sign, because most of the time I'm limping for multiple days.
Oh man.
So it just hurts, but I should be okay.
This is rough. I'm so sorry. This is why you need to be careful when you go into the line of work that you're in, which is very dangerous.
Yep. Me working at a grocery store.
We'll just call it witchering.
Look, it can be depending. I mean,
so speaking of dangerous things, this is our first episode where let's call this it's bestiary, right? I always want to say bestiary, but it's bestiary. Let's call this the first of our bestiary episodes, where we are discussing the monsters of the Witcher universe. And we've been talking this up for a few weeks now. It is officially SPOOPTOBER, and this is going to be our first monster lore lesson about what specifically, Toasty? What are we tackling today?
So we are tackling Wraiths.
Wraiths.
I put a message out to my fellow Witchers, asking, what monsters are the most terrifying to come face to face with. And every one of them that responded had some variation of a Wraith or something on their list. And so I was like, all right, let us do Wraiths. All of us seem to think this. And I think with the addition of Nightmare of the Wolf, I think Wraiths have made their way up the list from where they were for a lot of people too.
Yeah. And we have some different variations of Wraiths to discuss. So why don't we just go ahead and dive into it? I'm sorry about your leg. I hope it feels better, but let's get into the topic for today. Wraiths. So where do we start?
I just want to give a little quick disclaimer. Because there's so much, if I was to go over every aspect of Wraiths that has ever existed in the Witcher lore, we would be here for like 5 hours, and I don't think we want to be here for 5 hours.
This is not the 5-hour episode.
Yeah. So I'm choosing to use what we have from The Witcher 3, since it's the most updated Witcher game, or not most updated, but most recent Witcher game. And then specifically, we're talking about Wraiths. We didn't really see those in the TV show, but we did see them in the Nightmare of the Wolf movie. So I'll be using that example as well. So most recent examples of Wraiths.
Right.
All right.
Cool.
So we start with the generic basic Wraith. Wraiths are the spirits of people who died or who have died with unfinished business and become forced to haunt the living. They hold no memories of life and know only indescribable pain and an intense hatred for the living. They are normally encountered at night and haunt burial places or the places they held dear in life.
So they're just like really pissed off ghosts.
Yes. Pretty much.
They're just like really angry spirits with no memory of who they used to be.
Exactly. Wraiths appear to be floating forms of humans draped in tattered rags and a hood. They hold a lantern in one hand and a sword in the other and make swift attacks with both of these. And this is like a little bit that I'm putting. I'm preparing our newest Witchers that are about to head out on the path.
Yes.
The experienced Witcher should be sure to have their silver sword ready. And if you're a Witcher at all, you got to have your silver sword ready. Okay, let's be honest.
Right. Why the two swords? Why the two swords, mutant? What's with the two swords? I always love in the Witcher stories and the games when Geralt like goes to sit down at a pub or something, and some local idiot's like, "Why the two swords?" And that guy's just like, he's done.
He's literally been nowhere else in his life except for the small town.
Right. He's picking a fight with like the wrong dude. Anyway, get your silver sword ready. Absolutely.
And be sure to be stocked up on Spectre oil and the moon dust bomb. The Yerden sign can be utilized to force the Wraiths to materialize, since their main form of attack is to become immaterial and teleport behind. The Quinn sign can be used to block these surprise attacks should you be unsure from where they will strike.
So they're quick. They're quick and they're spectral, so they can disappear from sight. They can kind of teleport around a bit. They're not something to be messed with. They can be very, very, very dangerous.
Yes. Wraiths most likely take their inspiration from the idea shared by many cultures, which are ghosts or vengeful spirits. Many cultures believe in specialized burial or cremation rites to prevent spirits from rising from the dead. Mm-hmm. So we see this in like all sorts of media, like pretty much any show that has the supernatural, the idea of a vengeful spirit or a ghost that, has unfinished business and has to take care of it before they can pass on. This is essentially the same idea, except these guys will definitely mess you up.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
The Penitent is a unique variation of Wraith from The Witcher 3 that attacks those who commit bad deeds. You can find him or it on the Skellige quest. It involves a lighthouse. I remember that much. So yeah.
So Wraiths, just general Wraith, is the traditional like person who died, has some sort of unfinished business. They may have been murdered. They may have had some sort of goal in life that they didn't achieve. And so their spirit lingers on, and then they are basically just stuck to the world. And then their spirit kind of forgets who they were. Mm-hmm. And I love the description here that they are in indescribable pain and intense hatred for the living. It's almost like they're jealous of the living because the living get to go on and complete the things that they wanted to do in life, whereas they don't. And that it's like it eats at them. And so they have this like hatred for things that are alive, and yet they can't move on because they can't finish the thing that they want to do.
And I'd like to think that like the pain isn't like a physical pain. Like, I don't think that they're feeling like physical pain. I think it's more of like an emotional or mental kind of pain, because they like either like to haunt like burial sites, like graveyards, tombs, whatnot, or they like to stick around places that were important to them in life.
Right.
But the thing is they don't remember life. So they've forgotten what their life was. So I imagine there's this constant like turmoil of like knowing that things are important to you, but having no means of grasping that information.
Right.
I'm sure that would be like an extremely painful experience of like not knowing, but feeling like there's something that you should know.
Yeah. It's almost like they're stuck in this emotional loop. They're just kind of like this emotional, like the soul of the person is stuck in this emotional loop of like longing for the thing they can never have and the pain of never being able to achieve that. But not even remembering why or who or what. They're just kind of stuck in this almost like a time loop in a way. And their spirit just can't move on, which is where the Witcher comes in and is able to put them to rest.
Yes.
So there are more specific types of wraiths, right? So we're moving on to noon wraiths here.
Moving on to noon wraiths.
Noon wraiths. I love the term noon wraith, because when you think wraith, you think of nighttime. You think of ghosts coming out at night, the scary, spooky things haunting in the dark. But
and normal wraiths are normally encountered at night. You don't find them much during the day, though. It's not impossible, but it's most likely that you will encounter them during the nighttime. And particularly, you should be very careful of a regular wraith on the night of the new moon, as they are particularly powerful during that night. So,
and a new moon is the darkest night. That's when the moon is the opposite of full.
Yep.
So that would make sense. It's the darkest, spookiest night.
Yes. Also, I do have pictures. I don't know how much of a struggle if you wanted to throw up a picture or not.
Blah!
It's up to you.
Like barf, like throw up, like barf it up.
I mean, if you could do that, that would also be useful. But I feel like there's much more convenient means.
Yeah. Here, I'll give it a try while you talk. But okay. Go ahead and describe noon wraith, and I'll pull these up as we go.
All right. So beware the swaying of wheat stalks or grass on a windless day. This marks the arrival of a noon wraith who dances in the fields when the sun is at its zenith. They are spirits of women who suffered violent deaths before their weddings. Knowing only anger and pain, they wander the fields looking for unfaithful lovers and backstabbing rivals. Normally held in this world by an item of significance, one should beware finding a wedding ring or torn veil in a field. Should you find one, however, back away swiftly and do not touch it lest you attract the attention of the wraith.
I love this. I love the way they look in The Witcher 3 too. With the tongue hang out, like the impossibly long tongue hanging out.
The tongue so much.
Oh,
it's so gross.
So gross. I love it.
I mean, it's so gross. Good, but it's so gross.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's so gross. It's so good. I have the picture up on the screen for anybody watching on the live stream or who would like to check out the YouTube video. Reminder: the videos for the Witcher Lorecaster have now moved from the Robots Radio YouTube channel to its own Witcher Lorecast YouTube channel. So you can just look that up. Just search Witcher Lorecast on YouTube. You'll find the Witcher Lorecast YouTube channel. So if you want to see images of these things and you haven't seen, especially if you are watching the Netflix series and you aren't a video gamer and you want to see what these images look like from the games, this would be a great way for you to check that out. So and the Noon Wraith is great because the remnants of the dress, the ragged looking dress, even the flower crown on the head.
They are described as having the visage of a sun-dried corpse, wearing the remains of a tattered wedding dress, or their, whatever their wedding dress might be. So yes. It's really gross. It's very like a dried up, shriveled up kind of husk, rib cage poking out. The skin's just this thin layer attached to the bones, and then tattered dress, the floral crown, and that insanely long tongue that just flaps around everywhere. It's
so good.
It's absolutely terrifying.
So no mouth too. And that's part of the description. Imagine a skull, but without the jawbone. So you just have like the open mouth section with just a tongue that comes from like the back of the throat, just hanging out. Oh, it's so good. And then I have the image of the regular Wraith, which isn't as disgusting. It just kind of looks like a spirit with some rags for clothing and the sword and the lantern kind of floating around. So that's those right there. Man, the Noon Wraith is great. It's also a very tragic kind of Wraith because of the whole wedding situation.
Yep. In order to battle a Noon Wraith, you would prepare this about the same way you would prepare for a regular Wraith. Same materials, same oils and bombs. One should be more careful when dealing with a Noon Wraith, though, as you can encounter it during the day, which would probably be the last you'd expect of and it can more easily transition from immaterial to material. And if it is sufficiently weakened enough, it will make a copy of itself, which dances around whoever its victim is, and will suck away their life force and add it to their own strength. So regaining like their vitality. So you want to dispatch this doppelganger as swiftly as possible. It can also manipulate some physical forces such as kicking up dust, and like to blind so that it can more easily deceive you or attack you from like a surprise angle.
Yeah, she plays dirty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which in even I believe in the game, it's not even just like it's described as kicking up dust, but it's more like a flashbang. Like you like get like flashbanged, and it's like
right.
What just happened? And then there's like a couple different Noon Wraiths, and you're like, wait, what's going on? What am I?
Right? Yeah, Geralt like swears and like rubs his eyes, and he's like, and then like he looks back up and there's a few of them and he's like, and then he's got to deal with them. Yeah. I love so what's so creepy about this is that I love putting myself in the situation of the commoner having to deal with these monsters, because this is the kind of situation you might deal with as, say, a farmer, and you're a farmer and you're out tilling the field, and some sort of tragedy happened nearby, but you're not aware of it. And your guard's not particularly up. It's the middle of the day. You're out there, tilling your field, and you decide, there's this area on the side of your land. You're going to clear off some extra trees, some extra area in order to make room for some more fields. You're expanding your farm. But little did you know that 200 years ago on that little part of land, there was a tragic event. And you clear off that land and you pissed off a Noon Wraith, and in the middle of the day she shows up. Like, you don't expect this. You're not in a cemetery. It's not the middle of the night. All of a sudden this Noon Wraith shows up, and you don't expect this at all. And I love the surprise of that and the vulnerability of being in the middle of the day and it just showing up. And in the games you come across this kind of thing. Like, people are very surprised by this. This is like, what is this thing in my field? Why is it here? It's the middle of the day. What is going on? And of course, Geralt knows what's going on, but the commoner doesn't. Most of the time, the commoners are very confused by the kinds of monsters they deal with. But something like a Noon Wraith is very confusing to a lot of people.
Yes. And I believe that in some situations, the thing they talk about, like farmers and like knowing to take breaks at like midday. Mm-hmm. And whether that's like known or not at this point, like I'm sure some do know. I know the farmer that gives you like the devil by the well knows that it's like a Noon Wraith, or knows kind of, he knows like, I need to not do that. I need to take a break. Right. Just wait for everything to go away. And this is actually based off of something. So the Noon Wraith is inspired by the Slavic mythological creature. It's not really a creature. It's a belief, more like, known as Lady Midday, who was so named due to believe that she commonly appears during the middle of hot summer days and attempts to engage workers in conversation. Failure to answer or reject the topic results in the murder of the individual by the Wraith.
Wait. So you either have to answer or reject the topic, but if you just ignore her, then you die.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you better. So if you get approached by a lady in the middle of a summer day, you better respond in some manner.
Yep. Widely believed to have been the mythological personification of heat stroke, with delirious conversations with imaginary individuals as a frequent symptom of the condition. Lady Midday was commonly blamed for the deaths of workers whilst farming due to heart attacks. For fear of her, however, it became common practice for farmers to take breaks in the middle of a summer's day to avoid her.
That makes sense. Yeah, go get a drink of water, cool off. The middle of the day. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, you're just getting, it's essentially, because we know in like mythology that a lot of mythology is like the culture trying to explain things that aren't really explainable, right. Like Greek mythology, Zeus to explain thunderstorms and things like that.
Right. Right. They tie things into some sort of, cultural explanation for the thing because they don't have any other way of making sense of it.
And people would, and this is like back when you don't really have medical practices to tell you what's happening. So farmers more specifically, were just dropping dead in the middle of the day, mostly because they were working too hard. It was hot. Probably wasn't getting enough hydration. And that is not healthy for you, and you can die from that. So there was just farmers dropping dead in the middle of fields, and people were like, what's happening? Oh my God, there must be something like crazy, some kind of spirit killing these people or something.
We still do this in our culture. We just don't do it in the same way. We don't necessarily, well, some people do, but we don't necessarily call it like, oh, it's a noon wraith. But we still do this thing where we make up explanations and then pass them around. And then we claim that the explanation is legitimate because we heard it from somebody else we trusted. So like, how many people have heard the explanation that like you shouldn't go swimming after eating a meal? You should always wait 20 minutes before you go swimming after a meal, right? Mm-hmm. Or like that's bad for you. You'll get stomach cramps, something like that. That's totally false. There's no data saying that that's something that you need to worry about. But for some reason, we all believe it. Or like we're coming up on Halloween. Like every mother knows that you need to check your candy before the kids eat it because there might be razor blades in it. There's never been a case of anybody ever giving out candy with razor blades. This is not a thing that's ever happened and been reported. And yet every mother knows that this is something that could happen out, sure. Yeah. Be safe. But at the same time, this is just a popular myth. It's something that just gets spread around. So yes, be safe. Yes, take a break at noon, drink some water. But the reason for doing so, we still do this. We still make up reasons just because we need to explain why, which is kind of crazy to me, but it's just the way it goes.
There's two specific instances, or not specific, but two unique instances of noon wraiths in The Witcher 3. You have the White Lady, the specter of a woman, formerly a woman named Lucy, who committed suicide after abandoning her wedding for unknown reasons. She ran into the fields west of Drahen Castle and slashed her wrist with a dagger, transforming herself into a noon wraith. So something bad happened. It says unknown reasons. Maybe it was like an unfaithful guy or something, like, she felt wronged. So he left on the day of the wedding, turned her down. She was heartbroken. Like it could be a number of things. Mm-hmm. So, and then the Devil by the Well is a noon wraith that can be encountered in White Orchard and is probably the first noon wraith and probably the first wraith in general that people will encounter in Witcher 3. This is the very first part of the map. It's one of like the first contracts you get. So probably the first time you will ever see a wraith, specifically a noon wraith. Yeah.
Well, cool. So we need to take a break and thank our patrons. What do we have coming up after the break?
We continue with Night Wraiths and Plague Maidens.
Ooh, Plague Maidens, Night Wraiths, Night Wraith and Plague Maiden. That sounds like my new metal band. All right, let's go thank our patrons. We'll be right back.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
right. This is the middle of the show. This is where we get to thank our patrons. We now have 6 patrons. Thank you to all our patrons. Welcome to our newest patron, and I need to pull up the names of everybody here so I can thank everyone, but especially thank you to our tier 5 or Leshen patron, or tier 4 Leshen patron, Ben of Temeria, who joined us just recently on an episode. Lord Tizer is our newest patron. Welcome to the Patreon. And you know what, since we only have 6 of them, I'm going to thank everyone else as well. Mark 10 Gamer, Fishdew, Turbo Toboggan, and Vinitwo. I hope I said that correctly. Thank you to all of you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting the show and what we do on this podcast. We really do appreciate it. And you want to say anything else to the patrons, Toasty?
You're the coolest.
You're the coolest. So if you want to check out the different tiers on the Patreon, you want to possibly join us on a future episode of the show, and, you know, just see what kinds of cool things you get, like ad-free episodes a day early, in fact, most of the stuff you get at the bottom tiers, and then some of the really cool stuff you get on the higher tier. So go check it out at patreon.com/WitcherLorecast. And thank you to everybody who supports the show. If we've done anything to help your day go better at work, or your drive to work go smoother, or your workout go faster, or you cleaning your dogs go more cleanly, then check it out, because you might like the things you can get. So thanks to everybody.
Nothing helps clean your dogs more regularly than having a good podcast to listen to while you do it.
That's right.
If you want to have the cleanest dog in the neighborhood, you should listen to our podcast, is what we're saying. Absolutely.
Your dogs will be cleaner and happier, and you'll have the happiest, cleanest pups in town. So yeah, so new patrons, guys, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Hey, we also have some reviews. We got some reviews to go over.
Quite a few reviews, I thought, from the sounds of it.
All right, I'm pulling them up right now. Let's see. We have Lalania from the United States, who writes, "So much fun. 5 stars. I recently started diving into the Witcher books, and I wanted to hear other people talk about them besides myself. I typed Witcher into the podcast search bar, and I'm very glad I did. Wow, this podcast is the perfect amount of lore, enthusiasm, and random knowledge of the world that somehow ties in." I think that's my part. I can't wait for more, especially with season 2 on its way. Thank you, Lalanya. We really do appreciate that. That's a wonderful summary.
This is Lalani.
Lala Lenny. You're right. There's no A at the end. Via. Yeah.
Tom thinks your name deserves extra flair.
I'm just adding extra stuff, Thank you so much for your
That's
review.
what he does. He's good at adding extra stuff,
I just make crap up all the time. Then we have Staples 3. That is the third sequel. That is the end of the it's like if Staples had a movie, that would be the final Staples movie in the trilogy of Staples movies. Staples 3 writes, "I'm sorry, you're from Australia. I hope I didn't offend you. Thank you for leaving a podcast review. You wrote, great content, great discussion, 5 stars. Really enjoying nerding out with this podcast over everything from the continent. I've completed a couple of playthroughs of The Witcher 3, and I'm currently reading through the books. This podcast has been great for filling in context and background for me while keeping up fun discussion. Keep up the great work, and good luck on the path." Good luck on the path to you as well, Staples. Thank you for leaving that review, and I'm sorry I made fun of your name. I just thought it would be a funny joke, and it wasn't. All right, then we also have Dom Breakwood from Canada. Awesome show, 5 stars. "Hi, guys, from Quebec, Canada. Just wanted to say I discovered you from the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Welcome. Thanks for coming on over. And I only watched the Netflix show and movie, so discovering more about the Witcher universe just before season 2 is awesome." Smiley face. I know, right? There's so much good stuff in here. And also, yes, welcome to any of you who are tuning in from just watching the show, who were not necessarily readers of the books or players of the games. Everybody is welcome. We're glad that you're tuning in, and there's so much wonderful lore from each of the sources. So if you are only a book reader, only a game player, or only a show watcher, then don't worry. This is a great place for you. We're going to do our best to share all the content we possibly can to help fill in all the blanks from each of those things. So Welcome and thank you for the review, Dom. Also, we have ASKGS Jackie from Canada who writes, "Hi, 5 stars. Hi, I'm Jackie from Canada. I'm pretty new to the fandom and your podcast is giving me more info on the lore. I got started with the fandom through the TV show. Keep up the good work." We got another show fan. Thanks, Jackie. Man, thank you everybody for taking the time to do this. We have one left. Prisnibe H from the United States, who writes, "Great content, 5 stars. You guys have done an excellent job covering a ton of topics that aren't really covered in depth anywhere else, all while making it extremely entertaining. I'm a huge fan of the game series, but I recently began reading the books. Listening to the show has given me more insight into the Witcher world and answered questions that I've had about the lore. I'm excited to hear what's next and keep up the awesome work." Well, thank you. I'll just call you Pris. Thank you, Pris. Thank you to everybody. This is awesome. Thank you for taking the time to leave these reviews. It really does help us be more visible on Apple Podcasts in their search and get recommended more to people looking for shows. And again, welcome. If you are just a watcher of the show or just a player of the games, don't feel like you're left out. We very much welcome you. We're a fan of all the different content. Come and join us. And if you want any recommendations on how to get into the games, if you haven't gotten into the games before, or how to get into the shows, if you're kind of new to that, or the books, like where to start with the books, feel free to let us know. Join us on the Robots Radio Discord. We'd love to talk with you on there and give you some thoughts and advice about how to get deeper into the world of The Witcher. There's even a tabletop role-playing game. We interviewed Jay Gray from Artel Saurian. And so there are people who are playing tabletop role-playing games in the Witcher world. So there's so much awesome content out there about The Witcher.
I don't think we got Jay Gray yet. We got Cody.
We had Cody. That's right. We had Cody.
We had Cody Pondsmith on.
We didn't do Jay Gray. We did Jay Gray on the Cyberpunk. We did him twice. I'm blending the shows together. I'm
sure if you ask nicely, Jay Gray would love to come on the show.
Jay Gray in here. He isn't as plugged into the Witcher side of stuff now that I think about it.
Okay. Well, then we'll just have to get Cody back.
We'll just have to get Cody back because Cody knows like everything about the Witcher. So yeah, that's right. We had Cody on. So anyway, it's time to get back to the rest of the show. Let's do it.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
This is what happens when you do too many podcasts. You start to blend them all together. Also, it's kind of freaking cool that Artel Saurian works on both Cyberpunk and Witcher stuff. That CD Projekt Red works on Witcher and Cyberpunk stuff, like that all this stuff is kind of together. It's pretty neat that it all kind of mushes together. And so in my brain, it all kind of mushes together too.
Great that they like to support us with knowledge.
I know,
that's really
right?
good too. So
they're such awesome people. Like they really are cool people who just love the lore and they love the games that they work on. It's like they're nerds for the things that they actually work on. It's like just as much as we are, if not more, which is super cool. But anyway, let's talk about night wraiths. What do we know about night wraiths?
So night wraiths are similar to that of a normal wraith, but they have a few key distinctive features. They are the spirits of women experiencing sorrow and grief. They haunt fields and meadows in the darkest hours of the night. Mm-hmm. Really not much too different about like what they do. They just, it's nighttime. They're, specifically nighttime. And I actually just thought of something that I didn't write down from before. By the way, noon wraiths can be encountered at night, just so you know. So if you weren't terrified enough of noon wraiths, you can find them at nighttime. Right. They're just not as strong, which means nothing to you if you're not a Witcher. If you're just a normal person, it doesn't matter. It's
still pretty freaking scary, right?
So, you can encounter, any of these wraiths at any time during the day. You are never safe.
Yeah. So instead, we have a night wraith here. We've got a picture on the screen, and very similar. You've got the, the torn up looking old ratty dress, the skin that looks more like bacon than skin at this point, and the bones kind of protruding through the skeletal
face.
No
tongue, though.
No tongue. No tongue, no crown of flowers, because this was not a wedding gone bad. But then like the hair floating around, and just the whole general creepy floaty appearance. So, Still not something that you want to come across, especially in the middle of the night in the dark.
Yep. And they actually, the original naming for a night wraith was that they were the translation. It translates to midnight wraith as a like mirror of the noon wraith, but they decided to call it a night wraith because it kind of flows a bit better whenever you're saying it.
Yeah, midnight wraith is, if there was a word for noon that was as simple as noon for midnight, that would be nice.
Yep. When you're approaching a fight with a night wraith, it's very similar to a noon wraith. Although when weakened, they can split into multiple copies of themselves, and it would be well advised to take out these doppelgangers as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But everything else basically the same. Geared silver sword, spectre oil. You're good to go.
Right.
A very special or unique night wraith that we come across in the game is Genio the Woods.
Genio the Woods. This name is burned into my brain for some reason. I don't hold on to specific names very well. This is something that people should probably learn about me. As much as I love lore and I love holding on to all this knowledge and learning as much as I can about these games, specific names and specific labels fall out of my brain very easily. Concepts I hold on to really well, but specific names, not so much. Genio the Woods. For some reason, that one?
It's the O. It's the O because it's O apostrophe. Ginny is Ginny of the Woods.
Right.
But Ginny O the Woods.
But like there's something ominous, like Genio the Woods. It's just like there's something there.
That's true.
It's something creepy
pretty
about
spooky.
That. Yeah.
Pretty spooky.
Yeah. Watch out. Genio the Woods will get you.
Yeah. A unique variety of night wraith that we encountered. She used to be a woman named Zula who lived in Midcops. Zula's transformation into a night wraith came about after she was murdered by another villager named Bokai, whom she rejected as she was in a relationship with Anton. As Bokai wouldn't leave them alone to the point Zula feared for her life, she and Anton made plans to run off in the middle of the night. However, Bokai learned of this attempt to run off and ran after them and ultimately killed Zula.
Freaking Bokai. What a jerk.
Big jerk.
What a big jerk.
Yeah. His solution to not having the woman that he wanted to be with was to just kill her. It's a lot of great logic involved there. Oh, if I, in order to, protect myself from not having her, I will make sure that I never have her.
Yeah. Well, it's the traditional, like if you can't have her, if I can't have her, no one can. Right.
Yeah.
It's the jealous kind of love. That's not really love. It's just jealous.
I mean, I guess there's a limited selection of women in Midcops. I don't know.
I guess, I mean, like you've got a point. In these little itty bitty villages, there's only so many people.
A very tiny village. Midcops, I believe, was like really tiny, like one of the smallest ones.
Right. She's the most beautiful girl in the village. She's the only girl in the village. Yes, but she's the most beautiful. All right.
Oh, man. And that is what we have for night wraiths.
All right.
Nothing too crazy. They're not as unique. I think they were kind of built as an opposite because I didn't really come up with anything that specifically related to night wraiths as far as like mythology. Mm-hmm. So I believe it was just kind of like a nice, like, I guess, symmetrical balance of having a noon wraith and a night wraith kind of like balance each other out.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's not just a general wraith. From a gameplay perspective, it's also a different character model because the wraith looks more like a male with the lantern and the sword, whereas a night wraith is this creepy female. And she's got more of this these skeletal arms. She's got kind of that creepy like ghost skeletal arm thing rather than looking like maybe a soldier or something like that. And
they are stronger and they have like, a unique ability kind of thing that regular wraiths don't. And it's like a boss battle most of the time, especially Genio the Woods is, one of the named. That's a better term that I should have been using. A named night wraith. So
yeah, Mark 10 is in chat and he says they look kind of banshee like. Yeah, they've got that kind of banshee quality to them. Yeah, there's something about I think there's just something really creepy about like a woman scorned and then the woman scorned now turned into a spirit, like a female spirit scorned, like that kind of thing. There's just, especially to men, there's just like this, like, oh, she's haunting me. There's definitely something there.
Yeah, I believe that like in The Witcher 3 for Genio the Woods, like she becomes a night wraith, and I'm pretty sure the first thing she does is just completely murk Bokai. Now we move on to what I would probably consider the more terrifying variation of wraiths for me personally.
Yeah.
The Plague Maidens. They are also known as a pesta and are a spirit personifying disease and pestilence. They are wraiths that take the appearance of females, though exactly why that is remains a mystery. Some speculate they, like other such specters, arise from the powerful emotional charge associated with certain circumstances of death, such as death preceded by a long and particularly painful illness. They are extremely rare versions of wraiths, and only 2 sightings have ever been recorded. They have been known to be seen around the occurrence of rampant plague. No one can be quite sure if the Plague Maiden causes these plagues or if it is drawn to it like a moth to a flame. It is certain that she delights in the moans of dying men and inflicting pain in people.
So I found a really good picture for this. Check this out. And it especially highlights the super long tongue here. And it's so good. It's just the face. Oh man. Think like Noon Wraith with like the flowers in the hair, but the hair is green. The skin is like all green and looks like pestilent. Like there's just like disease all in it. And then also the whole really long tongue coming out of the back of the throat thing. So good. So good.
I'm actually like fairly certain that picture is just a Noon Wraith.
I don't know.
Because like I saw it, but it's got like
there's these two. That's a Plague Maiden. I mean, there's this one.
I'm just looking at the one that you had. It has a floral crown. I don't think Plague Maidens aren't depicted with floral crowns. Maybe
this one over here. Here, we'll look at this one.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a
few of them. Here, what about that one? Yeah, no floral crown on that one, but still green.
Yeah, very green, very green.
Yeah, maybe Google's doing me wrong, but this one is labeled on Pinterest as Plague Maiden. Maybe somebody mislabeled it. Yeah, this one's the super green too.
I'm sure they saw the green hair and it was probably just a lighting effect. They were like, green means plague.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the topic of description, they look similar to other wraiths, though it is said that they appear ill and their skin rots from their bones. They are covered in the pox of disease and worms burrow in their flesh.
Yum.
Yeah, delicious. If you ain't got worms burrowing in your flesh, I don't want you.
I mean, you must be doing something wrong because you're not delicious enough yet.
Yep. They usually lead a troop of rats behind them as they march across the land,
like a Pied Piper.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. To fight a pesta, you fight them much like other wraiths, making use of Yrden and your silver sword. Plague Maidens have been known to deploy
Success.
Clouds of insects to attack, but these can be swiftly dispatched by Igni.
Yeah, just burn them all down.
Yeah, burn the bugs. The Plague Maiden is drawn from the Pesta, so same kind of name here because it's also known as a Pesta, of Scandinavian folklore, which was seen as the physical embodiment of the Black Death, which rampaged through Europe between 1347 and 1351. Envisioned as an elderly woman wearing black robes, legends involving the Pesta affirm that the spirit would travel from homestead to homestead carrying the plague. If she was carrying a rake, then only a handful of people would die, whereas a broom would signify mass fatalities.
Wait, what? Wait a minute. I'm trying to understand the justification here.
The rake has holes in between the tines, so it can't gather as much
plague in it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about this? The rake.
No, I'm imagining it's like whenever you're culling leaves versus sweeping a floor, you can clean more effectively.
Right.
So like imagine that people are the dust. Like that, if you use a rake against the dust, you're going to get some of it,
she's sweeping
but not
more
much.
Right. I get that idea. What if here's a counter idea? What if the rake means that she's staying outside because you use a rake outside, but a broom means she's coming inside because a broom is used inside.
Works.
So that also works. She's gonna bring more disease into your home.
What's the more terrifying thing though? The more terrifying thing is that like modern Pesta, right? What if she shows up with a vacuum cleaner? We're all screwed.
She's like
that's the end of the world, right?
She's like the cleaning lady going from house to house, and she's like, "Hello, I'm here to clean."
I mean, as we know, like vacuum cleaners are really effective against monsters. If you've ever seen that Dirt Devil commercial.
Luigi uses them in the Luigi's Mansion.
The Ghostbusters, those are just vacuum cleaners.
That's like a vacuum cleaner. But yeah, Luigi sucks them up in like a vacuum thing.
Yep.
So he knows what's up.
I just always think of that weird Dirt Devil commercial where it's like trying to exorcise the demon. The demon's just going back and forth on the ceiling, and then it just pans up to like Betty White using a Dirt Devil. It's like, what?
Yeah. When in doubt, suck them up.
Yeah. An attempt to rationalize the sudden calamity without the modern understanding of virology and epidemics, Tales of the Pesta were surprisingly scientifically aware, including having the ghostly presence often travel by boat, one of the most common means of transmission of the bubonic plague.
Yeah, little did they know it wasn't the ghosts, it was the rats.
Yep, these ghosts have rats with them, so that's just what it is. The only instance of a Plague Maiden in The Witcher 3 can be encountered on Fyke Isle and Velvet. So, because they are extremely rare.
Yeah, spoopy stuff, man.
Spoopy stuff.
Black Death, inspired by the plague. Ugh. Man.
Yeah, that one's the more terrifying because that means worse things are going to happen for me. Like Noon Wraith has, I think, the most terrifying idea because of like, you're never safe. You just you're out there,
middle
cutting your wheat, scything your wheat, so that you can bring in some bundles to town for some flour or something. And then just bam, Noon Wraith
shows up.
Or walking, like imagine you're a very poor family and you just find like, a diamond wedding ring and you're just like, oh my God, I can pay off the farm. Help my family.
I can pay off the farm.
I can help my family so much with this. Pick it up. You're done. You're done for.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, don't touch my wedding ring. Okay.
Right. Or the Pesta shows up and just, welcome. Here's the plague.
Yep. And then you suffer.
You and everyone else.
The Noon Wraith, it's pretty quick. Yeah. That one's a lot of mass suffering. So.
All right. So what about the Nightmare of the Wolf? You mentioned that too.
So I just wanted to touch on it because we don't get much, but we do see Wraiths. And I think as far as like basic Wraiths go, these are probably the scariest iterations we've seen yet because we see them in the swamp scene, the controversial swamp scene that makes absolutely no sense.
Right. Yes. Right.
But these things are just what I like to call teleporting merc monsters, because all they did was teleport and then bloody explosions. They didn't even like do anything. It's just like if they were next to you, like enough to like touch you, you were done. You are done. You have no time to think of a solution. You just explode. And that's just terrifying because of how like mobile and quick that was. Like you don't have a defense against this.
Yeah, that whole thing was just ridiculous. I mean, that's just not. I mean, how would you even deal with that? Like,
you don't. It was a bad scene. We all admit that it makes no sense. The internet agrees that it makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Even if you were like a trained Witcher, there wasn't a whole lot you were doing in that situation to survive.
There's way too many monsters, as we've seen that a bunch of Witchers versus a bunch of monsters. The monsters still won out. So
yeah. So, all right. Well, I love me some spoopy stuff. This is going to be a wonderful month full of spoopy monsters. Our bestiary continues next week. What are we talking about next week, Toasty?
All right, so we're transitioning from a very commonly feared monster to the ugliest monster. I think you can tell me, in the Discord if you think there's uglier, but I believe this to be the ugliest monster in all of The Witcher, and that is the Striga.
Do you tell her that?
I don't have time. Normally,
look at that
I'm
face.
getting my face ripped off.
Look at that view. Look at that face.
I am not looking at it. Nope.
If you are listening to the show, you're missing out. This is why you should be you should be here for the live show.
That's ugly, but I mean, we want to talk about the Striga that's in the actual TV show because that's uglier.
Here. Here we go. I found it.
Yeah. Tom, you like the tongues of the Noon Wraith, but you know what? You'll like even more elongated umbilical cords. That's what you'll like.
That too, right? Look at poor Geralt's face.
He's like, oh God, this is nope.
Yeah, they really did it up for the TV show too.
I like. And this just makes me think of the scene where he's talking to the goat and he tells the goat how ugly he is. And I'm like, yeah, but you were face to face with this. Like goats like downright gorgeous compared to that thing. So
yeah. So, okay. Well, that's fun. I can't wait to talk about the Striga. Striga's a great monster. You know what? I would also love to hear some other people's thoughts on this as well on our Discord. What do you think about Wraiths? What do you think about the Striga coming up? And what is your altogether, I don't know, scariest monster? What to you is the monster you would least likely to encounter in the real world? Like, let's say you are in the Witcher universe. You are a commoner, because wouldn't we all be? We would all just be commoners.
Not me. I'm not a commoner.
You're a Witcher?
I'm a Witcher.
Okay.
I'm armed with the knowledge I need.
Other than Toasty, we're all commoners. We're like farmers. We're merchants.
Ben of Temeria. I mean, he's already got the name.
Ben's a Witcher too, of course. But you and Ben are Witchers. The rest of us are commoners. Maybe I'm a bard. I'll be a bard. You guys, I'm your bard. Isn't that your
how
dandelion.
this podcast works anyways? I'm the serious one here. So.
I'm your dandelion.
Definitely my dandelion.
I'm the dandelion to your Geralt. And everyone else, though, you guys out there, I'm sorry, you're a bunch of farmers and merchants and townspeople.
If you're a farmer, be careful in the field at noon, okay?
Oh my God, what would be the creepiest thing for you to come across? What would it be?
Yeah, let us know in the Discord, and if you can't narrow down the scariest, give us like your top 3.
Yeah, just which ones in your mind would you be like, if I was to leave my farm and have to travel from one town to the next town, which monster would I least like to come across, either in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, in the case of something like a Noon Wraith, unexpectedly, and just which one would you just like totally nope out? You'd be like, noping out. Like, tell us, let us know. But Toasty, you got anything else you want to share before we head out?
I got a couple things. Got the Twitter, Witcher Lorecast on Twitter. Give us a follow. Begin some interesting people following, which is cool. And then, of course, if you're looking to watch the videos, you're not with us live on the live stream. You want to watch the videos, the Witcher Lorecast on YouTube now. It's no longer the Robots Radio. It's Witcher Lorecast.
Lorecast. YouTube channel. Go check it out. Subscribe. It's free. It's a free subscription.
It is free. It's a free subscription
on YouTube. And you can check out our lovely faces while we talk about these episodes. And you can also join us live there as well. We double stream on YouTube and on the Robots Radio Twitch channel. So you can check this out there on both of those. Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can come join us. And anything else?
If you are a fan of D&D, you know, I got roped into an episode that was definitely not planned. I don't know if you heard about this. So that we have the D&D Lorecast, which was previously Tom and Stuart and is now the Almighty Crit and Sergio. And they were doing their patron episode and none of the patrons showed up. Which kind of feels bad, but
it happens.
They didn't
People
get
get
patrons,
busy,
but they had Stuart on, and I was in the Twitch chat, and then they just were like, "Invite Toasty. Let's have Toasty on." So I was on a surprise
default special guest.
Yeah, I was on a surprise episode of the D&D Lorecast, talking about spells, our favorite and least favorite spells, and I have never used a spell in D&D beyond 3rd level, so
you were definitely the best guest to have on the show.
I definitely was the best guest that you could have possibly had on that show.
Amazing.
And then if you're a fan of the Avatar, I am joining up with some of our folks that do the Cyberpunk Fumbling For the Almighty Crit, like their live play podcast. So they will be doing an Avatar The Legends podcast, and I will be
this is like a cool Avatar thing. This is like cool Avatar anime. This
not blue people,
dumb blue people.
Avatar
movie.
The Last Airbender.
Right. This is cool Avatar, yes. Not dumb Avatar.
Yes. So, and I will be joining them as a player. So look forward to that. That will be happening soon. I don't think I can say the specific date, but it will be
very soon.
Pretty soon.
Very soon. Awesome. Well, that sounds exciting. Yeah. And this is a lesson to anybody who's listening. You just start showing up. Just be part of the community. Just start showing up. You never know when one of our podcasts are going to be like, hey, come join us on the show. Because Toasty was originally a patron. And for Cyberpunk, he originally just started showing up as a Cyberpunk patron, and then started getting involved with more of the shows. And then he was like, "Hey, I want to do a Witcher show." And then he and I got together, and we're like, "Hey, let's launch a Witcher Lorecast. We could do that." And now we do a show together, and now he's popping in as guests on other shows. So the community is growing. This community is all about you guys and all of us together. So really it's all about just getting involved and having fun together. So yeah, come join us. That's the lesson. So
join the Discord. That's if you want to talk with a bunch of really cool people about all sorts of video game or nerd stuff. You want to hop on the Discord.
Yeah, Robots Radio Discord.
Check out yep.
And I'm streaming in the mornings now, every morning around 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/robotsradio. And I will either be working on some of the projects that I work on, editing some of the podcasts, working on some video stuff, that kind of thing. And I can, talk about what I'm doing. I can share some thoughts on what I'm working on, even help you guys learn some of the things about how I do what I do. Or I'll be playing games. I've been streaming New World that came out recently. Today I streamed some Elder Scrolls Online. I'll be playing some Fallout. Who knows? I may even jump back into The Witcher, So I'll be hanging out in the mornings, playing games and chatting with you guys every weekday.
I hop in there a couple times a week to just chat. So if you want to say hi in Twitch chat on his stream, I'll be there sometimes. Yeah, there you go. Come hang out with me. And we have a good time. Everybody jokes around, and sometimes chat gets me to do dumb stuff like make videos where I look at the screen with a fart noise. Yep. I'm saving for that Waluigi redeem. I don't know what it is. No. And it says not to touch it, but I'm saving for that. Don't do it. Don't do it. I keep raising the price because people hit that button and then I'm like, no, this is bad. No, I'm saving. I'm saving. No good. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see. Oh, me too, says Bank in the chat. Oh boy. All right. Well, guys, thank you for being here. I think that's it. My brain just started. The Waluigi just took over my brain. All right, we're going to get going. Thanks for being here. Stay safe on the path. We'll see you guys next week for more Monster Talk. Talk to you next week. Later. Thanks for tuning into the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast. You've been listening
listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.